I teased her with a nickname, and she called me something that melted my heart. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the viewing deck of the space station Harmony, watching the alien ship approach. It was beautiful in a strange way. The vessel looked like a crystal flower with transparent petals that caught the light of distant stars. Nothing like the metal boxes humans build. Captain, they're requesting permission to dock, said Lieutenant Chen from behind him. Jake nodded. Granted. And Chen, make sure our translation systems are working perfectly. This is history in the making. 3 months ago, humanity had received its first message from another intelligent species. The Zephyrians, as they call themselves, had been watching Earth for decades. They wanted to meet, to talk, to see if humans and their people could be friends. The world had gone crazy with excitement and fear. Some people celebrated, others worried about invasion. But Jake knew better. The message had been gentle, curious, almost shy. These weren't conquerors. They were neighbors introducing themselves. The docking process took an hour. Jake had assembled his best team. Dr. Sarah Kim, the linguistics expert, Commander Liu Wei, head of security, and Dr. Amara Okafor, the xenobiologist who had studied every piece of data they had about the Zephyrians. Remember, Jake told his team as they waited in the main meeting room, we represent all of humanity today. Be respectful, be curious, and be human. The airlock doors opened with a soft hiss. The first Zephyrian to enter was unlike anything Jake had imagined. She stood about 6 feet tall, with skin that seemed to shimmer like water. Her features were delicate, almost elvish, with large eyes that changed color like an oil slick. She wore simple robes that moved like liquid silk. Behind her came two others, both male from what Jake could tell. They were slightly taller, with more angular features, but the same beautiful, shifting skin. Welcome to Harmony Station, Jake said, stepping forward with a warm smile. I am Captain Jake Morrison. The female Zephyrian tilted her head, studying him with those amazing eyes. When she spoke, her voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The translation device rendered her words in perfect English. I am Lyrale, first speaker of the Zephyrian delegation. We thank you for your welcome, Captain Morrison. Jake noticed how she pronounced his name, drawing out each syllable like it was music. He found himself grinning. Please, call me Jake. We're not big on formality here. Lyrale's eyes flickered with what might have been amusement. Jake, she repeated, and somehow made his simple name sound like poetry. The formal introductions continued. Jake presented his team, and Lyrale introduced her companions, Thorin, a military advisor, and Zendel, a cultural specialist. They all spoke with the same musical quality. But Lyrale's voice stood out. There was something special about her, something that made Jake want to listen to her talk for hours. Dr. Kim began explaining the cultural exchange protocols they had prepared. But Jake found himself watching Lyrale instead. She listened with intense focus, her color-changing eyes fixed on each speaker. When someone made a joke, she tilted her head slightly, as if trying to understand humor itself. We have prepared quarters for your stay, Jake said when the formal presentations ended. I hope you'll be comfortable. Your kindness honors us, Lyrale replied. But we must ask, is it true that humans require periods of unconsciousness to function? We had heard of this sleep but found it difficult to believe, Jake laughed. Very true. We need about 8 hours of sleep every day. Don't worry, we won't fall over during our meetings. Lyrale's skin shimmered, shifting to warmer tones. Jake was learning to read her expressions. This seemed to be surprise or delight. Fascinating, she murmured. Your species rests. Yet you have achieved faster than light travel. You dream while unconscious, yet you wake to build wonders. What about you? Jake asked. Do Zephyrians sleep? We enter meditation states, but never full unconsciousness. The idea of surrender, of complete trust in the universe while helpless, she paused. Searching for words, it speaks of remarkable courage. Jake had never thought of sleep as brave before. I guess when you put it like that, we are pretty trusting. Over the next few hours, they toured the station. Lyrale asked endless questions about human technology, human culture, human emotions. She seemed particularly fascinated by human relationships. Friendship, family, love, you form bonds across genetic lines. She observed as they watched a group of multi-ethnic crew members laughing together in the recreation area. Your chosen families, as you call them? Family isn't just about blood for humans. Jake explained. It's about who you choose to care about. Who chooses to care about you? Raleigh stopped walking and turned to study his face. This concept. It is beautiful. On our world, connections follow ancient patterns, predetermined paths. But humans, you choose your own connections? Every day, Jake said. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But we keep trying. They were standing in the observation lounge now, Earth visible through the large windows. Raleigh gazed at the blue-green planet with wonder. So small, she whispered, yet it produced beings capable of such hope. Jake felt something stir in his chest, the way she looked at his world, at his people. With such genuine admiration, it was overwhelming. What's your world like? He asked, beautiful, peaceful, ordered. Her voice carried a note of sadness, but perhaps too ordered. We have forgotten how to choose, how to hope for things beyond our prescribed paths. They stood in comfortable silence. Watching Earth turn slowly below them, Jake found himself studying Raleigh's profile. The way the starlight played across her shifting skin. You know, he said softly, your name is musical. It reminds me of a song. She turned to him, eyes now a deep, warm gold. What song? Jake hummed a few bars of an old Earth ballad, something his grandmother used to sing. Raleigh listened with rapt attention. Beautiful. She breathed. You carry music inside you, even when alone. All humans do, I think. Music, stories, dreams. It's what makes us, us. Raleigh stepped closer, and Jake caught a scent like spring rain and starlight. Jake, she said, his name like a prayer. Your species, you are remarkable. More than, our observers reported. She paused, searching for the right word in his language. We are what? Jake prompted gently. Her eyes met his, now shimmering with silver threads, when she spoke. Her voice was barely a whisper. Magical. The word hung between them like a bridge. Jake felt his heart skip a beat, coming from her, from a being who could change colors like emotion and whose voice was music itself. Being called magical felt like the greatest compliment in the universe. So are you? He said, meaning every word. Something had shifted between them. Jake could feel it. This wasn't just first contact anymore. This was the beginning of something that would change both their worlds. Outside the windows, Earth continued its ancient dance around the sun, unaware that one of its children had just fallen under the spell of starlight and music, and that a daughter of the stars had discovered what it meant to choose. The real adventure was just beginning. 3 days had passed since the Zephyrians arrived. Jake found himself looking forward to every meeting with Raleigh. She had a way of seeing humans that made him proud of his species. Today, they were scheduled to discuss trade agreements in the main conference room. Jake arrived early. As usual, he liked to prepare his thoughts before these important talks, but when Raleigh entered the room, something was different. Her skin, normally a calm blue-green, flickered with rapid bursts of deep red and orange. Her two companions looked equally distressed. Raleigh, Jake stood up, concerned. What's wrong? She looked around the room, then directly at him. Jake, we must speak privately. There's something we have not told your people. Jake felt his stomach drop. What kind of something? Dr. Kim and the other human delegates started to enter the room, but Raleigh held up a hand. Please, only Jake. This concerns all our lives. Jake nodded to his team. Give us a few minutes. When they were alone, Raleigh began pacing. Her skin continued its anxious colored display. Thorin and Zendel stood like statues, their faces grim. We did not come here just for friendship, Raleigh said, her musical voice strained. We came because we need your help, because without it, both our species may not survive. Jake felt cold suddenly. What are you talking about? Raleigh stopped pacing and faced him. There is another species. The Devourers. They consume worlds, strip them of all life, all resources. They have destroyed 17 civilizations in our sector of the galaxy. Why didn't you tell us this before? Jake asked, though he kept his voice calm. Because we were not sure humans could help. Thorn spoke for the first time since arriving. His voice was deeper than Liralay's, like distant thunder. Your species is young. Your technology is primitive compared to ours. We hoped, that maybe we could solve this problem ourselves. Zindel stepped forward. But we have been fighting the Devourers for 50 of your years. We are losing. Our weapons barely scratch their ships. Our strategies cannot match their hunger. Jake sat down heavily. How long do we have? Their scout ships will reach this system in 2 months, Lyrali said quietly. Their main fleet follows 6 months behind. The room fell silent. Jake stared at the table, his mind racing. Earth had barely achieved faster than light travel. They had no weapons that could fight. An interstellar war. No experience with alien enemies. What makes you think we can help? He asked finally. Liralay's skin shifted to a warm gold color. Because in 3 days of watching humans, we have seen something our species lost long ago. Something the Devourers have never possessed, which is adaptability, she said, creativity, the ability to find solutions where none should exist. She sat across from him. Jake, your people created music from noise. You build cities and deserts. You learned to fly when you were meant to walk. You turned your greatest weakness, your short lives, into your greatest strength by cramming more experience, more learning, more growth into each day than we achieve in decades. Jake looked at her beautiful, worried face. You're asking us to fight a war we can't win. No, Lyrali said softly. We are asking you to do what humans do best. We are asking you to find a way. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Earth hung in space below, peaceful and blue. 8 billion people going about their lives, unaware that their world had just become a target. Tell me about these Devourers, he said. Thorn activated a holographic display. Images filled the air above the table. Jake saw ships that looked like metal insects, all sharp edges and hunger. He saw dead worlds, gray and lifeless. He saw creatures in environmental suits that move like predators. They are efficient, Thorn explained. They arrive, they consume, they move on. No negotiation, no mercy. They see other life as fuel for their expansion. How do they fight? Jake asked. Overwhelming force, Zindel replied. Thousands of ships at once. They sacrifice dozens to destroy one enemy vessel. Their technology is ancient but effective. Jake studied the images. The Devourer ships were massive, but they moved in predictable patterns. Their attacks were straightforward, raw power applied without subtlety. They don't adapt. He realized. What do you mean? Lyrale asked. Look at their formation patterns. Look at how they attack. It's the same every time. Jake pointed at the holographic battle scenes. They found a strategy that works, and they never change it. They win through power, not intelligence. Lirale's eyes widened. You see something we missed? Maybe. Jake turned back to the group. Your people fight them the way you think war should be fought. Honor, strategy, matching force with force. But what if we don't fight them at all? You mean surrender? Thorn's voice carried shock. No, I mean we become the one thing they can't handle. Unpredictable. Jake started pacing now, his mind working furiously. Humans have never fought a war the right way. We use tricks. We adapt. We change tactics every time the enemy figures us out. We turn our weaknesses into weapons. But their technology, Zendel began. Technology is just tools, Jake interrupted. The person using the tools matters more. And humans. He smiled grimly. Humans are very good at using tools in ways they were never meant to be used. Lyrale stood up, her skin now cycling through bright, hopeful colors. You think you can find a way to fight them? I think we can find a way to confuse them so badly they defeat themselves. Jake turned to face all 3 Zephyrians. But we'll need your help, your knowledge, your technology. And we'll need to do things that might seem crazy. How crazy? Thorn asked warily. Jake grinned. It wasn't a nice expression. Crazy enough that even humans will think we're insane. Lyrale stepped closer to him. Jake Morrison. What are you planning? I'm not sure yet, but I know humans. Give us an impossible problem and we'll find 6 different ways to solve it. 5 of them will be stupid, but that 6th one, he looked out at Earth again. That 6th one will change everything. Thorin and Zendel exchanged glances. They still looked worried, but there was something else in their expressions now. Hope. There's one more thing, Lyrale said quietly. The Devourers. They do not just destroy civilizations. They study them first, learn their weaknesses, use their own nature against them. What do you mean? Jake asked. They have already been watching Earth. They know about human aggression, human competitiveness. They expect you to fight among yourselves when threatened. Their plan depends on humanity destroying itself before they arrive. Jake felt a chill. Earth's history was full of wars, conflicts, nations turning against each other in times of crisis. The Devourers had good reason to expect humans to fragment under pressure. Then we'll have to disappoint them, he said firmly. We'll have to do something they've never seen before. What? Lyrale asked. Jake looked at her companions, at the images of destroyed worlds still floating in the air. He thought about humanity's greatest victories, their most impossible achievements. Everyone had required the same thing. We'll have to trust each other, he said. All of us. Every human on Earth, your people, maybe even other species, will have to become something new. Lyrale's skin shimmered with silver threads, the same color Jake had seen when she called humans magical. A united front. More than that, Jake's voice grew stronger as the idea took shape. A family, not bound by blood or species, but by choice, by the decision to stand together against the darkness. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Lyrale stepped forward and placed her hand on Jake's arm. Her skin was warm, and where she touched him, he felt a strange tingling sensation. Then we begin now, she said. And Jake, yes? Her eyes met his, glowing with determination and something deeper. Thank you for showing us what hope looks like. Jake felt his heart race. Looking at her, at the trust in her alien features, he realized something that both terrified and thrilled him. This wasn't just about saving Earth anymore. It was about proving that different species could become something greater together. The real war was just beginning, but for the first time since learning about the Devourers, Jake believed they might actually win. 1 week later, Harmony Station had transformed into something Jake barely recognized. The quiet research facility now buzzed with activity 24 hours a day. Scientists, military officers, engineers, and artists from every nation on Earth worked alongside Zephyrian researchers. The impossible had become routine. Jake stood in the main planning room, watching a heated debate between Dr. Sarah Kim and a Zephyrian engineer named Valdris. They were arguing about shield frequencies in 3 different languages, gesturing wildly at holographic displays. Neither seemed frustrated. If anything, they both looked excited. Humans are strange, Lyrale said, appearing beside him with that silent grace her people possessed. They argue like enemies but work like family. Jake smiled. Over the past week, he'd grown used to Lyrale's observations about humanity. She had a way of seeing things that made him look at his own species with fresh eyes. We call it passionate collaboration, he said. Sarah thinks Valdris is wrong about the power coupling. Valdris thinks Sarah doesn't understand quantum mechanics. In 2 hours, they'll combine their ideas and create something neither could have built alone. And this works. Lyrale's skin showed curious purple swirls. Better than anything else we've tried. Jake gestured to the room. Look around. A month ago, half these people didn't know aliens existed. Now they're building impossible weapons with them. It was true. The station now housed the most diverse team in human history. There was Chen Wei, a Chinese physicist who had figured out how to weaponize music, Commander Rodriguez from Brazil, who was teaching Zephyrian pilots how to fly unpredictably, Dr. Amara Okafor had discovered that human emotions could enhance Zephyrian technology in ways no one understood. And in the corner, looking completely out of place but somehow essential, Saturday Marcus Thompson. Marcus was 8 years old. He was also the only human who could speak fluent Zephyrian without a translator. Children, it turned out, learn alien languages like they learn anything else by playing with them, Jake. Dr. Kim called out, still gesturing at her displays. Come settle this for us. Can we or can we not make a shield that sings? Jake walked over to the arguing pair. The holographic display showed a defensive system unlike anything in human or Zephyrian design. It looked like a soap bubble made of music and mathematics. Explain it to me like a Marcus, Jake said, nodding toward the boy. Dr. Kim took a breath. We've discovered that Zephyrian shield technology responds to sound frequencies. But not just any sound. It needs to be complex, layered, emotional. Valdris, whose skin was cycling through frustrated orange patterns, spoke in his careful English. I maintain that mechanical precision is superior. Emotional input is unreliable. Show him, Dr. Kim said to Marcus. The boy looked up from his tablet, where he'd been drawing pictures of spaceships that looked like butterflies. He walked over to a small Zephyrian device that had been giving the engineers trouble for days. It was supposed to create a defensive barrier, but it kept flickering and failing. Marcus placed his small hands on the device and began to hum. It wasn't a song Jake recognized, just a simple melody that wandered up and down like a child exploring. The device began to glow. The flickering stopped. A perfect, stable energy shield formed around Marcus's hands. It wants to sing, Marcus said. Simply, you just have to sing with it. Valdris stared at the device, then at Marcus, then at the device again. His skin shifted to amazed silver. Impossible. The power readings are. How did a child? That's the human way, Lyrale said softly, appearing at Jake's other side. You find solutions in the most unexpected places. Jake watched as Valdris knelt down to Marcus's level and began asking careful questions about the humming. Within minutes, the Zephyrian engineer was attempting to hum along with the boy. It sounded terrible, but the device's glow grew stronger. Another breakthrough, Jake murmured. Jake. Lyrale's voice carried a note he hadn't heard before. Worry. There is something else. New intelligence from our scouts. They moved to a quieter corner of the room. Lyrale activated a private holographic display. The images that appeared made Jake's blood run cold. The Devourer fleet was massive, hundreds of ships, each one larger than a city. But that wasn't what worried Jake most. What worried him was the formation they traveled in, a perfect sphere with no gaps, no weaknesses. No way to attack without facing the entire fleet at once. They've adapted, Jake said quietly. Yes, our observers report that they changed their formation after our first battles. They are not as inflexible as we hoped. Jake studied the images, his mind racing. The Devourers had learned from their encounters with the Zephyrians. They were evolving their tactics. This changed everything. How much time do we have? He asked. 3 weeks until their scouts arrive. 7 weeks until the main fleet. Jake felt the weight of 8 billion lives pressing down on him. 7 weeks to prepare for an enemy that had destroyed 17 civilizations. 7 weeks to turn Earth into something the Devourers had never faced before. We need to accelerate everything, he said. Over the next few hours, Jake watched the impossible happen. When he explained the shortened timeline, nobody panicked. Instead, the entire station seemed to shift into a higher gear. Humans and Zephyrians worked through the night, fueled by coffee, determination, and the kind of stubborn hope that only Earth could produce. Dr. Chen's musical weapons project moved from theory to prototype in 18 hours. Commander Rodriguez had Zephyrian pilots performing maneuvers that defied physics and common sense. Most importantly, word was spreading to Earth below. Jake stood in the communications center, watching feeds from around the world. In Tokyo, a group of teenagers was teaching Zephyrian refugees how to play video games. In New York, a chef was showing alien visitors how to make pizza. In Lagos, musicians were creating entirely new genres by blending human and Zephyrian sounds. They're not afraid, Lyrale observed, watching the feeds with him. Oh, they're terrified, Jake corrected. But fear doesn't stop humans, it motivates. U.S. on the screen. A news reporter in London was interviewing a group of children who had written letters to their new space friends. One little girl held up a drawing of humans and Zephyrians holding hands around Earth. "We're going to protect everyone," the girl announced to the camera with absolute confidence. Because that's what families do. Jake felt something tight in his chest. That drawing. That simple statement from a child who didn't understand the impossibility of what she was promising. It captured everything he was trying to build. "Jake," Lyrale said softly, "there's something I must tell you." He turned to face her. Her skin was showing colors he'd never seen before, deep blues mixed with warm golds, like ocean waves catching sunlight. "Among my people, we have a word. This Sarian. It means someone who changes your understanding of what is possible. Someone who makes you believe in tomorrow when today seems impossible." Jake felt his heart speed up. "What are you saying?" Lyrale stepped closer. In the soft light of the communication center, surrounded by images of two species learning to become one, she looked like living starlight. "I am saying that you are my Thessarian, Jake Morrison, and perhaps I'm yours." Before Jake could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. Commander Liu's voice echoed over the intercom. "All hands to battle stations. We have incoming ships, a known configuration. They're not Zephyrian, and they're not human." Jake and Lyrale exchanged glances. Through the viewing ports, they could see lights approaching in the distance. Too early to be the Devourer scouts. Too many to be refugees. "What do you think?" Jake asked. Lyrale's skin rippled with determined silver. "I think the universe just became more complicated." Together, they ran toward the command center. Behind them, on the screens they'd been watching, children from around the world continued drawing pictures of impossible friendships and singing songs about tomorrow. The real test was about to begin. The command center erupted into controlled chaos. Officers rushed to stations while holographic displays came alive with data streams. Jake took his position at the central command console. Lyrale close beside him. Her skin had shifted to deep purple. What he'd learned meant intense concentration. "Report," Jake called out. Lieutenant Chen's fingers flew over her controls. 15 ships. "Captain, smaller than Zephyrian vessels, but larger than ours. They're not responding to hails. Configuration is unknown," added Commander Liu. "But they're holding position just outside weapons range, like they're waiting." Jake studied the tactical display. The ships formed a perfect circle around Harmony Station. Not an attack formation, but not a peaceful one either. "Any energy signatures?" he asked. "That's the strange part," Dr. Kim said from her science station. "Their reading is almost completely organic, like they're grown instead of built." Lyrale suddenly gasped. Her skin flashed bright white, a color Jake had never seen before. "What is it?" he asked. "Those ships." She whispered, "I know that design, but it's impossible. They were destroyed centuries ago." Before Jake could ask more questions, the main view screen flickered to life. A face appeared that made several Zephyrians in the room step backward in shock. The being looked similar to Lyrale's people, but different. Where Zephyrians had smooth, flowing features, this species had sharp angles and crystalline patterns across their skin. Their eyes were pure silver, like mirrors reflecting starlight. "Zephyrians," the being spoke, and even through the translation system, Jake could hear ancient anger in the voice. "We are the Crystalline Collective. We come seeking the humans." Thornton stepped forward, his skin cycling through rapid color changes. "The collective died out 300 years ago. How are you here?" "We did not die. Brother Kin. We adapted. We evolved. We became what we needed to become to survive." The crystalline being's gaze shifted to Jake. "And now we seek alliance with the species that gave us hope." Jake felt confused. "I don't understand. We've never met your people before." "No. But your signals, your broadcasts, your music, they have traveled far. We have watched your species from distant worlds. We have seen something that our cold logic told us was impossible." The being paused, and when it spoke again, its voice carried something that sounded almost like wonder. "You choose to love what is different from you. You adopt strangers as family. You risk everything for those who cannot help you in return." The silver eyes fixed on Jake. 3 days ago, we detected Zephyrian ships in your system. Logic told us they had come to conquer you, but our observations show something else entirely. On the view screen, secondary displays showed surveillance footage from around Earth. Humans and Zephyrians working together. Children teaching alien refugees to play games. Scientists sharing impossible ideas. Families opening their homes to visitors from the stars. You welcome them. The crystalline being continued, not as servants or masters, but as equals, as family. This should not be possible for a species that has never left its own star system. Jake felt pieces clicking together in his mind. You're refugees too. You've been running from the Devourers for 3 centuries. We survived by becoming cold, calculating, efficient. We removed emotion from our decision-making. We became perfect logicians. The being's expression shifted, showing something that might have been sadness. We survived, but we forgot how to live. Lyrale stepped forward. The collective was our sister species. We thought you had all died fighting the Devourers in the Antares sector. Many did. The survivors learned that emotion, hope, love, these things make you vulnerable. So we removed them. We became machines and organic shells. It kept us alive. But the being looked directly at Lyrale. We lost ourselves. Jake began to understand. But watching humans change something. Yes, your species does everything wrong by logical standards. You're inefficient. You waste resources on art and music. You risk your lives for creatures that aren't even your own species. The being's voice grew stronger. Yet somehow, in 3 days, you have accomplished what we could not in 3 centuries. You have created unity. The command center fell silent except for the hum of equipment. Jake looked around the room, humans and Zephyrians working side by side, Marcus still teaching Valdris how to make the shield device sing. Dr. Kim and her alien partner arguing about equations that would save both their worlds. What do you want from us? Jake asked. We want to remember how to choose with our hearts instead of just our minds. We want to learn how to build a family instead of just an alliance. The crystalline being leaned forward, and we want to help. You fight the Devourers. The collective has advanced technology, Thorne said quietly. Ships that can phase through solid matter. Weapons that disrupt energy at the quantum level. If they joined us, the odds would improve significantly, Commander Liu finished. But Jake wasn't thinking about odds or weapons. He was thinking about the look in the crystalline being's silver eyes. The same look he'd seen in Lyrale's face when she first called. Humans magical. The look of someone who had found something they thought was lost forever. What's your name? Jake asked. The being seemed surprised by the question. Designation. We are. I am. It paused, struggling. I have not used a name into 100 years. Names are inefficient. Then pick a new one, Jake said simply. That's what humans do when we want to start over. For a long moment, the crystalline being stared at him. Then, slowly, its rigid features softened. Crystal, it said. I choose Crystal. Like the formations on my homeworld. Beautiful but strong. Jake smiled. Hello, Crystal. Welcome to the family. Something remarkable happened then. Crystal's perfect posture relaxed. The other crystalline beings visible on the screen seemed to exhale for the first time in centuries. And Crystal did something that shocked every Zephyrian in the room. It smiled. We accept your welcome, Jake Morrison, and we offer our ships, our knowledge, and our commitment to this new way of being. Alarms suddenly blared again. Lieutenant Chen's voice cut through the celebration. Captain. Multiple contacts jumping in at the system's edge. Configuration matches Devourer scouts, 12 ships, heading directly for Earth. The moment of joy vanished. Jake looked at the tactical display. The Devourer ships were still 3 days away, but they were coming fast, and they were broadcasting. Something. Put their signal on speakers, Jake ordered. A harsh, mechanical voice filled the command center. Inhabitants of Sol 3. You have been selected for consumption. Prepare for processing. Resistance will result in total elimination rather than selective harvesting. The message repeated in multiple languages, including what Jake now recognized as Zephyrian and crystalline. They're not just attacking. Lyrale said, her skin pale with fear. They're announcing it. like it's already decided. Jake looked around the command center. 3 species, all facing extinction, all looking to him for answers he didn't have. Then Marcus tugged on his sleeve. The 8-year-old boy looked up at Jake with complete confidence. "Captain Jake," Marcus said, "I know what we have to do." Every adult in the room turned to look at the child. Marcus walked over to the communication console and placed his small hands on the controls. "We have to tell them they're wrong," Marcus said simply. "We have to show them what they don't understand." "What don't they understand?" Jake asked. Marcus looked at Crystal on the screen, then at Lyrale, then at all the humans and Zephyrians working together around the room. "They don't understand that we're not 3 different species anymore," Marcus said. "We're one family, and families don't let anyone hurt their people." Jake felt something click into place. Marcus was right. The Devourers expected to face 3 separate species, humans, who would fight each other, Zephyrians who would retreat, 2 logic, and crystallines who would calculate their own survival. Instead, they would face something that had never existed before in the galaxy. A chosen family spanning the stars. "Open a channel to all ships," Jake commanded. "Human, Zephyrian, and crystalline. It's time to show the universe what Earth has learned about working together." As the communication links opened, Jake looked at Lyrale. Her skin was now showing every color at once, a display he'd never seen before. "What does that mean?" he asked, pointing to her shifting colors. She smiled, and in that smile was everything they'd built together in just 2 weeks. "It means hope, Jake Morrison. It means believing in impossible things." Crystal's voice came through the speakers, all collective ships ready to follow human command. Thorn's voice followed, Zephyrian fleet standing by. Commander Liu stepped up beside Jake, Earth Defense Force awaiting orders. "Captain," Jake took a deep breath. In 3 days, they would face an enemy that had destroyed 17 civilizations. But they wouldn't face it as humans, or Zephyrians, or crystallines. They would face it as family. "Then let's go remind the galaxy what love can do," Jake said. The real battle was about to begin. 3 days later, Jake stood on the bridge of the Earthship Unity, watching the Devourer fleet emerge from hyperspace. 12 massive ships, each 1 kilometer long, arranged in their perfect sphere formation. They moved with mechanical precision toward Earth, but they weren't facing what they expected. "All ships, report status." Jake spoke into his communicator. "Zephyrian fleet ready," came Thorin's musical voice. Shields harmonized to human emotional frequencies. Crystalline ships phased and standing by. Crystal's voice had grown warmer over the past 3 days. Logic circuits enhanced with feelings. Earth Defense Force in position. Commander Liu reported. "All ships equipped with the new unified technology." Jake looked around the bridge. Humans, Zephyrians, and crystallines worked side by side at every station. Dr. Kim sat next to Valdris, their shield song now perfected. Marcus had insisted on staying aboard, claiming he needed to help the ships talk to each other. Even now, the boy sat cross-legged on the floor, humming softly to the ship's systems. Lyrale stood beside Jake's command chair, her skin showing steady silver patterns. Over the past 3 days, she had become more than his advisor. She had become his anchor, his reminder of what they were fighting for. Incoming transmission from the Devourer fleet. Lieutenant Chen announced. "Put it through," Jake ordered. The main screen filled with the image of a Devourer commander. It looked like a machine wearing organic parts, all sharp edges and cold efficiency. "Surrender is no longer an option," the mechanical voice declared. "You have allied with known enemies of the collective. All species present will be consumed." Jake stepped forward. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison, representing the Soul Alliance. We don't surrender. We also don't attack. We're here to offer you something you've never been offered before." The Devourer's mechanical features showed no expression. "Explain." "A choice," Jake said simply. "For 300 years, you've consumed civilizations because that's all you knew how to do. But what if there was another way? What if instead of taking life, you could help create it?" "Impossible. We require resources. Other species possess resources. Consumption is efficient." "But lonely," Lyrale said, stepping up beside Jake. We have studied your culture, your history. You were not always destroyers. Once, your people built beautiful things, created art, made music. The Devourer's head tilted slightly. Music is inefficient. Then listen to this, Marcus said from his spot on the floor. The boy began to hum, the same wandering melody he used to activate the Zephyrian technology. But this time, every ship in the combined fleet joined him. Humans humming, Zephyrians adding their wine chime voices. Crystallines discovering harmonies they'd forgotten for centuries. The song spread across space itself, every ship, every station. Every settlement in the solar system joined the melody. On Earth below, 8 billion people hummed along, the combined voices of 3 species. United not by force or logic, but by choice, something impossible happened. The Devourer ships began to slow. "What are you doing to us?" the commander demanded. But its voice had changed. Less mechanical, more confused. "We're reminding you," Jake said softly. "Deep in your oldest memory cores, you remember what it felt like to create instead of destroy, to build instead of consume, to choose family instead of conquest." On the screen, the Devourer commander's features were shifting. The mechanical hardness was softening, revealing something that might once have been beautiful. "The song," it whispered. "We remember this song. Our creators, our children, they sang." Before the hunger took over, Crystal's voice came through the communicator. "Before you forgot that there was another way to live." The Devourer fleet had stopped completely now. For the first time in 3 centuries, they were not moving toward their target. We don't know how to be anything else," the commander said. And Jake heard something he never expected to hear from a Devourer. "Fear. Then learn with us." Jake said, "That's what families do. We teach each other." Lyrali stepped closer to the screen. "You have taken so much life, caused so much pain, but choosing to change, choosing to build instead of destroy, that would honor every life you've taken, that would give meaning to all that suffering." The bridge fell silent except for Marcus's gentle humming and the harmony of 3 species. That had become one dot then, slowly, the Devourer commander reached up and removed its helmet. Underneath was a face that was ancient, scarred, but unmistakably alive. Tears ran down weathered cheeks. "We are tired," the commander whispered. "So tired of being hungry, so tired of being alone. You don't have to be alone anymore." Jake said, "There's room in our family for everyone, even for people who made mistakes, even for people who forgot how to love." The commander looked around its own bridge, and Jake could see other Devourers removing their helmets, revealing faces that had been hidden behind machines for so long they'd forgotten what it felt like to feel. "What would you call us?" the commander asked. "We have been Devourers for so long, we don't remember our true name." Marcus looked up from the floor, his 8-year-old voice cutting through the tension. "You could be the Builders, because that's what you're going to do now. Build things instead of breaking them." The former Devourer commander smiled, the first smile his people had shared in 3 centuries. "Builders," he repeated. "Yes, we choose to be builders." What happened next would be talked about in every corner of the galaxy for 1,000 years. 12 massive ships, designed for destruction, powered down their weapons. Their hulls began to shift and change, revealing construction tools and fabrication systems that had been hidden beneath armor. "Plating. How?" Jake asked in wonder. "Our ships were originally designed to create," the builder commander explained, "to construct habitats and farms among the stars. When the hunger took hold, we covered that purpose with weapons and armor. But the tools were always there, waiting to be remembered." Over the following hours, the most unlikely construction project in galactic history began. Ships that had destroyed 17 civilizations started building something new, a massive orbital facility that could house all 4 species working together. Jake found himself standing in the observation lounge, watching builder ships carefully position habitat modules, while crystalline vessels provided the framework and Zephyrian ships added the artistic touches that made it beautiful. Human ships buzzed around like busy bees, adding the small details that made the structure feel like home. "It's magnificent," Lyrali said, joining him at the window. It's impossible. Jake corrected with a grin, which makes it perfectly human. Lyrale laughed, that musical sound that had become his favorite music. Jake Morrison, do you know what you have done today? Started the galaxy's strangest construction project. No. She turned to face him, her skin showing every color at. Once again, you have proven that love is stronger than hunger. That chosen families are stronger than ancient programming. That hope can reach even the darkest hearts. Jake felt his own heart speed up as she stepped closer. And do you know what that makes you? She continued. What? Lyrale's eyes sparkled with silver threads. It makes you Star Weaver. That is what my people call someone who brings light to the darkness. Someone who builds bridges across impossible distances. Jake felt warmth spread through his chest. Star Weaver, it is not just a nickname. Jake Morrison, it is who you are. It is who you choose to be, every day, as if summoned by their conversation. Marcus appeared at Jake's elbow. The boy looked out at the construction site where For Species were building something beautiful. Together. What are we going to call it? Marcus asked. Call what? Jake replied. Our new home. The place where everyone belongs. Jake looked at Lyrale. At the builder ships carefully placing solar collectors. At Crystal's people teaching former devourers how to craft instead of consume. At human engineers working alongside beings from across the galaxy. Hope Station, he said. We'll call it Hope Station. Lyrale's hand found his. Warm and real, and promising tomorrows he'd never dared imagine. Hope Station, she repeated. Where? The Star Weaver brought the galaxy together and taught us all how to choose love outside the window. Hope Station grew larger and more beautiful with each passing hour. For species that had once been enemies now worked as family, building something that would stand as proof that the universe's greatest power wasn't destruction, or consumption, or even logic died. It was the simple, impossible, miraculous human ability to look at a stranger and say, welcome home. The nickname had become a name. The alliance had become a family, and Jake Morrison, the man who had shown the galaxy how to choose love over fear, watched the first sunset paint Hope Station gold. Against the infinite stars, the real adventure was just beginning.